This morning by Sylacauga mayoral candidate Dr. Matthew Hubbard in the runoff election on September the 23rd. And Matt, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy Dan.
Good to have you with us this morning. And the campaign continues, right?
Absolutely. You know, we've got 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks now from yesterday, so it's ramped up. I mean, it's full throttle straight ahead. So
You got a great team working with you, right?
Yes, absolutely. Our team's grown, you know, with the endorsement of Jada Combs and everything, and we were out campaigning this past weekend. We'll be out again this Saturday and the weekend up too, and then I'll be doing individual things during the week and continuing to meet with people and have those conversations. I've got a couple of meetings to go to today, so it's in full swing.
You talked about getting the endorsement of Jada Combs, who was a political candidate as well in the mayor's race.
Yeah.
What reasoning did she give you to support you?
Well, just that we aligned and that I reckon, Jada is a people person. And she's all about people, and she's all about making sure that our people are taken care of. And she and I connect on that level, the educator in me, the teacher, the coach, those type things. And so I can't speak for Jada necessarily. I know the conversations that we've had, and I think she just picked up on that and saw some of her and me with those type things and what I stand for and how I go about taking care of business.
Every vote will count, right?
Absolutely, and you only have to win by one. So, yeah.
Your opponent recently received the endorsement of the current Sylacauga mayor, Jim Heigl. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to our community, that's probably news. That's not news to me nor to my campaign. We've known that since about mid-June that was going to happen. So, again, it may be news for the community, but it's not news. We've been planning for that. We've been prepared for it and everything. And before the campaign started, when I contacted Jim to let him know that I was going to be running, I talked to his campaign manager, Philip Morris. I think most people know that. And I told Philip, I said, Philip, I'm not going to share this story. I'm not going to campaign on it until I need to, until I have to. Well, today's the day for me to share this particular story. And I've touched on it, but not shared it. But it was Mayor Heigl who convinced me to run for mayor about 1.5 years ago. I'd been retired maybe 5 or 6 weeks, and I'd been having breakfast with him and another group of people down at Booker's Restaurant. And one Friday morning, he just said, Matt, you need to run for mayor. And honestly, I thought he was joking. I thought he was kidding at first. And I said, well, what about you, Mayor? And he said, no, I'm serious. He said, I'm not running. And he said, you would make a great mayor. And so I sat there, about choked on my pancakes, but for about the next 20 or 30 minutes, he went through a list of reasons of why I would be a strong candidate and why my skill set would speak to what we need in our city right now. And that basically, because other people have been talking to me about it for, quite a while, that kind of put me over the hump with it. I still had, there were 4 things that had to take place before I could actually do it. And those 4 things came to fruition. And so when that happened, I called Jim and said, hey, I'm going to run. Now, in the meantime, from him asking me to do that and talking me into it, he had some, his wife passed, and I think that had a lot to do with him, choosing to run. I can't speak for him, but that's just my personal feelings on that. And but yeah, as far as me and my campaign, we've expected that. He's been kind of throwing that out there since about mid-June. So, yeah.
Last time you were here, you spoke about your opponent, and you touched on bought candidate.
Yes.
He brought that up when he was here yesterday.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that now?
Well, you know, I made that comment, and I stand by that comment. I just didn't have a lot of time to really expand on my thoughts on that, my rationale and my reasoning. And this is what I mean by bought candidate. In no way, shape, form, or fashion is that directed to any donor or business donor or group of donors at all. I'm 55 years old. I've participated in the American political system ever since I've been able to vote. And I respect our political system, right, wrong, or indifferent, the way it's set up. I respect that. Every American has the right to make any type, an in-kind contribution or a financial cash contribution to the candidate of their choice, because they believe that candidate represents their best interest, whether that's in their individual personal life or in their professional business life. I would never question that part of the political system. As political candidates, it's incumbent upon us to have to make good judgment calls in what we accept as an in-kind contribution or as a cash contribution to our campaign. Now, for a small city mayoral election, a $10,000 donation is a large donation. I think we can all agree on that. Now, again, I have no qualms with donors at all. They are protecting their interest, you know, whether it's personal or business. As candidates, we have to make good decisions about those contributions we accept. And my opponent, even though he's a mayoral candidate, he's still president of the Commercial Development Authority. And he accepted a $10,000 donation from one of his, you can call him a client, who he's responsible for trying to sell their property out on Highway 280. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but that brings into question conflict of interest violations, and it brings in ethics laws violations. Now, and I believe that's a fair question. I believe our citizens need an answer from my opponent as to why he would accept such a large contribution, and from a client who he's responsible for selling their property to developers. And I don't think that's dirty politics. I think that's fair. So when I made the comment about bought candidate, that's what I'm talking about, is that specific situation there, because let's play it forward. Because to me, that is that's just shows very poor judgment. If he makes that type of poor judgment as a candidate, what if he makes that type of poor judgment as a mayor? We're already spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary legal expenses. If he does that as mayor, that's going to be more legal liability on the city.
We're talking to Dr. Matthew Hubbard, candidate for Sylacauga mayor in the municipal runoff election on September the 23rd. There's been a lot of conversation. I heard it not long after the general election, the city election back in August, and the topic was brought up about a mayoral debate.
Yeah.
Your opponent has talked about a mayoral debate. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, and this whole debate about a debate, it's again, that's not coming from my camp or my campaign. That's not coming from me. I've said all along regarding a debate, and I said it here before this whole little thing kind of blew up.
No matter who the opponent was.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't matter. My campaign, we are going to stick to what is successful. I learned a long time ago as a young child, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And apparently we've been running a successful campaign, and a clean campaign, and that is my main effort to try to continue doing, with receiving 44% of the initial vote. So as far as how I make decisions and go about, we're going to stick to knocking on doors. We're going to keep doing the interviews. And, you know, the debate, Jimmy, I think I may have told you this last week, it's going to happen. We're Sylacauga, we're so fortunate to have Daybreak and Jimmy Dale. Most small cities don't have what we have with Jimmy Dale right here in this medium to communicate to our community. So the debate, in essence, is taking place right here on Daybreak. You know, get your popcorn. And I told Jimmy Dale last week he needs to get a Netflix contract. So, but no, I just don't see the
So that would be a
wisdom.
moot point as now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Matt, last week there was a ruling that came down pertaining to the two individuals that are employed with the city of Sylacauga at City Hall, and about the step raises,
Right.
and that kind of thing. And now then, they're going to have to recoup that money from those candidates, from those two individuals who are employed at City Hall. What do you think about that? And somebody, you or your opponent, whoever it is going to have to deal with that when they come on board.
Yeah, you know, and I've dealt with similar type, not of course not identical, but similar situations in the public school system, and I've actually studied them through public school law, so I'm kind of familiar with the framework of that type of scenario. Now, I reckon the cliff notes on that type of litigation is that it all goes back to the resolution, to the ordinance, if you will, to, you know, and how that is legally interpreted. Now, it's just like in the school system, whatever your policy, however that policy is written, we used to say that policy manual, that's your Bible. That's what you go by. I mean, if it's in writing and you don't go by how it's written out, then as the system, you know, you're at fault, and this person's going to get, you know, whatever he or she has coming to them. So I don't know all of the details on both, you know, employees. There's two different situations there. One's related to an educational raise, another one's related to a step raise as an interim and that type stuff. So you've got different, you know, legalities being applied to those two separate situations. Now, I can tell you, you know, if those resolutions, if that ordinance, however, it was not followed, then, you know, then those employees have a leg to stand on. Now, depending on the legal interpretation of those resolutions. So, unfortunately, once again, it's something that has to be litigated out.
More money.
Yeah, and it's more money that's not being put to public service. And so that's why I've said all along, you know, I have experience in writing policy. I did it for the school system. I took a board policy that was that thick, and we got it down, and we streamlined it, and we made it's a lot more clear. And same way with procedures and so forth like that. So if I'm fortunate enough to be put in the office of mayor, that's something that I'm going to immediately start looking at, because some of these resolutions or policies, personnel policies at City Hall, they may be way outdated. They may be 30, 40, 50 years old, and in 2025 may not apply, you know, to today's standards. So.
And if elected mayor, you see some changes coming, don't you?
Absolutely. You know, there's got to be, you look at organizational structure there, and I said this last time, if I'm elected mayor, it's one city hall. We're not going to have a second floor and a first floor. We're going to be one city hall. We're going to be united. We're going to work together. And I know that's a tall task. I know that's a tall order. I've had success in that type of situation in the past through the school system, working with employees and so forth, and getting different perspectives, different mindsets to the table, excuse me, and getting people to work together, you know. And so that's because that is what City Hall is there for, is to serve our citizens and to make sure that our municipal services are as good as they can possibly be.
Have you thought about the future of Sylacauga if you become mayor?
Absolutely. I actually, Jimmy Dale, I have some notes right here that, you know, in talking with people, because I know that I've brought these things up, but people, if they don't hear it continuously or multiple times, it's out of their mindset. So I've got some things that, as far as my vision for Sylacauga, one, and a lot of it deals with Highway 21 right here with Broadway. One of the first things I'm going to do is get in touch with AlDOT, and I'm going to get an update on the 4-lane, coming from into town, south 21 coming in, and see where that 4-lane, has the 4-lane project ended? Is it never to begin again? Is it going to stop, or is it going to come on over the hill there into town and so forth, and connect and be a 4-lane all the way? I want an answer on that because nobody can tell me. I also want to talk with AlDOT about getting turning lanes into Fairmont at both entrances and exits right there. Also want a turning lane into our Sylacauga Fire Department number 2 out there in front of Fairmont.
There's a lot of traffic on that road.
Way too much, and you've got 18-wheelers coming over that hill right there, and if that fire truck's turning left into the station, that's not a lot of room for an 18-wheeler to stop. So those are a couple of things. And then coming on into town on 21, of course, the new rec center. I'm going to have to talk to AlDOT about, okay, what's going to be the best way to get pedestrians across 21? Is it going to be a red light with a crosswalk, or will it be an overpass? Got to talk, and when you do that, you're going to be getting quotes, you're going to be getting timelines. These type of projects can be phased in. There's grants out there for this type of work. And so you can start developing a master plan. Now come on down from the new rec center, and you're getting, to our triple railroad crossing right there. Well, from a public safety perspective, I'd like to have a overpass right there. I mean, we've got the hospital on this side of town. We do have the fire station on that side of town, but it happened last week where all 3 main arteries were blocked by a train.
For a while.
Yeah. And if there's an automobile accident, if there's a heart attack, if there's a medical emergency, those moments, those seconds are critical when the hospital's right here. So definitely want to look at an overpass over those 3 railroads right there. And now you're in downtown. So we've got to flatten that crown out from downtown all the way down to the Oaks Apartments. That's going to help us with our flood mitigation efforts. In conjunction with that, at the same time, I'd like to be working on a new sidewalk efforts coming down. I'd like to widen our sidewalks and get them leveled back out again, get rid of roots that are pushing up through, and make it. I want our community, our citizens, to be able to get out and walk safely, without fear of tripping and falling out into the road. So those type of efforts, I've got vision for that. And, going back to downtown, we get our flood mitigation under control. I'd love to have an outdoor PA system that's playing music outside. Especially, just imagine that during the seasons and holidays and all. That would just be wonderful. And I'd also like to see a water feature downtown. And I'm not married to any particular idea. I mean, it could be a fountain, it could be a little water park or something like that, but something that's going to attract people to downtown, that's going to be attractive, beautification efforts along our roadways. We've got to clean the eyesore up in front of CVS there at the intersection of Fort Williams and Broadway, and just make it safer. I have a selected tree removal along 21 right here so that our people can actually enter and get on to Highway 21 from some of our side streets without having to pull out and look around a tree and everything. So just those safety efforts. I also like to look and see at the cost effectiveness of maybe a roundabout at the end of James Payton right there, and see, just look at the possibilities of those things, and see what we can get going with that.
There may be some people who are saying this morning, well, man, you got big dreams, and how are you going to do all of this? Well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, the first thing you have to have the vision. You have to have that vision for it now. And then as far as the vision goes, you start putting a plan to it. When I get in touch with ALDOT, that plan will start developing. We'll start getting numbers in. We'll start getting timelines on how long this project would take, that project would take. And then once you have those numbers, you look at your budget. You look at what we're bringing in, revenues, and then, what's out in expenditures. And then as a city and the city council, you start prioritizing that budget. And it may be you have to do these things in phases, just similar to the way we phase things in the school system with our facilities and then athletic venues. So it's just a matter of having the skill set to be able to do that and then communicate it clearly with the decision makers and just getting those priorities, in order. And then actually acting on that plan, putting it in action and then following through on it, so.
Dr. Matthew Hubbard, candidate for mayor of City of Sylacauga in the September 23rd runoff election. You lean on your experience in the school system to help you as the CEO of our city. And I have listened to you several times talk about situations where it can be similar to what we're dealing with at City Hall that you've dealt with in the school system for many years.
Oh yeah, great. There are great parallels there because, it's the public. You are dealing with your public through the public school system. You're dealing with those students and you're dealing with their parents, grandparents, guardians, and extended family. And not just through necessarily discipline type situations, but through athletics, clubs, academic awards, all of those facets. So you're seeing your community and you're seeing them over a period of time. It's not just an interaction here or an interaction there or at an event here and there. It's over a long period of time. So you develop trusting relationships. Because there's only one of you, but there's thousands of them. And so, I think consistency in personality, consistency in decision making. Our community, for the most part, they know and trust my decision making. If they didn't, I wouldn't have been promoted like I was through the school system over the years. So it's just having those trusting relationships, those interactions. And then, just the actual experience of doing that for so long and how that does translate or transitions really well to the office of mayor here in Sylacauga, because I've stated this earlier. I have existing relationships with a lot of our department heads already through my work through the school system. So I'm familiar with how, the municipal government side of everything works, and I'm familiar with our people as well.
I have been told by numerous people that talked about your fairness when you're in the school system. You would bring that same fairness to City Hall if elected.
Absolutely, you have to. And I think, the fairness, I spoke about this last time, Jimmy Dale. Let's look at campaign finance and my approach to campaign finance. I've not asked one person or one business for a donation. And it's not that if someone wants to donate money to my campaign, we gladly accept it and so forth. But I pretty much finance my campaign. And in my mind, that's fair. That's how, if whatever situation the city that we may be dealing with, someone may come and say, yeah, well, you did A, B, C, or D, or yeah, you took money from A, B, C, or D, or you did this or that. Well, knowing that that's how society can work from time to time, from working in the public school system, I'm already fair and above board and clear and clean on that type stuff. I try to apply the same principles in my decision making, my judgment. No one's perfect or anything like that, but as far as being fair, I think when I have people talk to me about me and that's the first thing. It used to be when I was younger, people would say you're patient. I like your patience, and that was when I was younger. And now what they tell me now is you're a fair man. You're fair. We trust you. And all I can say is that must be a God thing, because I try to be fair. I mean, I put effort into being fair with everyone.
You talked about several times this morning about the campaign finances. Now, that's public record, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I know my opponent flipped his and showed you the little billboard part of it there. And once that he knows that all my contributions are in. He knows that. He knew that Sunday night. They were in before Sunday night. I've been transparent on what I've said here on your show. I've had donations come in after the first election. So my total contributions from others it's going to be around $4,900 to $5,000 total. My contribution to my campaign is around $23,000. So total, it's around $28,000 that we've been able to do what we've been doing. Now, I'll say this: if you're a business person and you're interested in return on investment, look at my return on investment for $28,000 for close to 1,000 votes, and look at my opponent's investment from what his contributions are and his number of votes. I mean, you can get a return on investment just from those numbers right there.
As we continue with Dr. Matthew Hubbard this morning, one of the main topics of this runoff election has been crime in our city of Sylacauga.
Yeah.
Your opponents talked about it. You've talked about it. You continue to say that we're on the right track here.
We are. I mean, I did not sugarcoat when I came in with actual statistics for Sylacauga. I didn't sugarcoat that. Yeah, our homicides have risen, rapes have gone up, and drug infractions had risen slightly at about 9%. Now, larceny, which my opponent said went up, has gone down. So, and so forth. So, no, we are not in the top 10% of cities for crime in America. No way, not happening. And people, let me encourage you to do this. Whenever there's statistics that's put out there, always question the methodology. Look at the methodology of how those statistics have come to, because crime is a big issue. It's multifaceted. They could just be looking at one part of crime. They could be looking at murders, or they could be looking at sexual offenses. There's a lot of topics under crime. So you have to question methodology with these statistics and the accuracy of these statistics. Now, that's why I went straight to our police chief, got accurate, up to date, not outdated. Not outdated. Now, that's important too in that methodology is the time frame. Up to date, accurate crime information. And I, and again, I'm going to say this. My opponent is in a conflict here, because as CDA president, he's responsible for going out and recruiting businesses to our business and industry, to our city, to improve our economic growth. And you're not going to do that telling people and on air and all this that we are in the top 10% of crime cities in America, when we simply are not. The facts do not back it up.
Matthew Hubbard, Dr. Matthew Hubbard, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga municipal runoff election on September the 23rd. And normally we close with encouragement for you to go back to the polls and vote, because traditionally less people go to the polls for runoff than they do for regular election. And I know you want to encourage people personally to get back to the polls. And even if you didn't vote the first time, you can vote now.
Amen. You know, Sylacauga family, look, Natalie and I, we did not have the good fortune of being born and raised here in Sylacauga. Now, that's no slight to our home. We love where we're from. We love our hometowns. And what we love about Sylacauga are the things that we love most about our hometowns. And that's what attracted us to Sylacauga. It's what kept us in Sylacauga. It's why we chose to finish our careers here in Sylacauga and raise our children here in Sylacauga. We love Sylacauga. We see the potential in Sylacauga. And people, family, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the original vote of 999 votes. We have under 2 weeks to withstand the onslaught of social media, choreographed, videos, all that type stuff. Y'all are doing excellent. Y'all are taking the social media hits. Don't be, sucked into those negative traps on social media. And let's get back out to the polls on Tuesday, September 23rd. Let's vote Matt Hubbard for mayor, and let's start being the change that we want to see for our great city.
Dr. Matthew Hubbard, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga runoff election on September 23rd. Dr. Hubbard, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jimmy Dale.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.